separation of funds. Make sure that you separate your business funds from your personal funds.
Your bookkeeping, because now you want to keep record for a company, you want to help them for their bookkeeping. What are your approaches? What do you really do with them in terms of the help?
And I learned this especially with my son. I would always say there are certain things that I would do when I have a child. Like they're not going to do this and they're not going to do that and they're going to be a certain way. And every single one of those things that I said about my child and how I would be as a parent, none of those things happened. My name is Petal Berkeley, and I like to refer to myself as a stay-at-home mom advocate. That means that I work from home, but I'm also a mom. I take care of my son at home. He's with me when he's not in school. He's with me all.
All right. Thank you so much for that. But tell me, where exactly are you and what do you remember of your, maybe, let's say, of your infancy growing up?
Well, I can remember that I started reading at a very very young age. So I remember that I was always interested in books. Like I would never really be outside. I wouldn't play. I wasn't really that active, but I loved reading, and that's something that has been carried through from a young age. So now I love to read, but the nature of my business, because it's accounting, I prefer to read in like I prefer to read fiction. Something that uh it allows me to get that creative aspect of my personality and a creative outlet for me. It's reading. I get to create and visit these amazing worlds that of course it's not in reality, but it's a great break for me to be able to do that. And that's one thing from my young from a young age that I would remember.
Thank you so much for that. So, at this young age that you're talking about now, what were you trying to sort of see ahead of you? Can you share anything in line with that?
Well, not I think as a child, I was always very expressive, and I always used to say that I wanted to do something in the lines of maybe performance arts. I wanted to be an actress, I wanted to be a singer, I wanted to be a performer. Which is really funny because I have severe anxiety and I really would like to be in front of crowds. But that is what I wanted to be as a child. And then I decided I wanted to be a lawyer or I wanted to be a doctor. I never, the field that I'm in now, it wasn't something that I would have pictured for myself or I would have even thought that I wanted.
Now tell me a bit. How did you get into what you are doing today? How do you describe what you do today as a business? Tell me about that.
Well, it started in secondary school or high school when you have to choose your specialized subject, what you want to do. I chose all of my subjects and I decided I would do accounting as an additional thing because I wanted to have a touch of science, business, and IT. So I wanted to make sure that I had all of my options, right? And when I did the final exams and I had to go back to do A levels, CAPE, that's what we call it in the Caribbean, advanced levels, I did accounting again. And I decided that I wanted to do psychology. So I was going to take a break for a year before I started university because, I mean, 7 years of school and then to have to go into 7 years of school again, it would have been a lot. So I wanted to take a break. And I ended up doing an accounting course while I was on that 1 year break and decided, you know what, I like doing this. This is fun for me. And I chose that as my profession, which is what I was working on up until 5 years ago when I had my son. I went on maternity leave and I came back, and it was very difficult for me to adjust back into that work environment. And after a couple of months, I realized I had developed postpartum depression. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to resign from my job because my career is not going to stop. Having a child doesn't stop your career. But at that point in time, I needed to focus on my mental health to ensure that I was the best person that I could be and the best mother that I could be. And I needed to, I think I had this preconceived notion that motherhood doesn't change your life. Like you can still operate in the same way. And it was not the case for that for me. And I needed to adjust and adapt to being a mother first before I could figure out um how to streamline that into the rest of my life goals and my career and everything. And when I resigned, I ended up having a consultation with someone. I saw a post on Facebook about virtual assistants, and I had no idea what that was at the time. And I had a consultation with her. And when I did that, it sort of opened my eyes, and I realized, hey, I could still do my accounting, and I could do it on my own terms, and it would not affect my journey through motherhood. And that's how I ended up starting my virtual assistant business. And of course, I started the business. And when I would tell people that I was doing bookkeeping and I was doing accounting, the first thing they were going to say is, do you also do taxes? And I hadn't done taxes with local Trinidad and Tobago taxes. I hadn't done that in quite a bit of years. I went back. I kept getting asked that question. So I went back and I got recertified with local taxation. So now I am able to um, sort of be a one stop shop for businesses where you get the accounting, you get the taxes, you get the tax advice, um, and anything in between there that you need, I can provide that for you. And that is kind of where I'm at now in my business.
That I appreciate that. Now, you're a mother, and your motherhood is sort of conditioning the way that you do all your things today. So, if you were to say maybe this is one lesson that you learned being a mother or in motherhood, what would that lesson be?
It's definitely uh, it's more than one thing I'm gonna say. One is that you can expect the unexpected, and you need to be able to adapt to situations as they come up because there's only so much preparation that you can prepare for. You're not going to know until you're actually in it, right? And the other thing is to kind of go with the flow. Sometimes you need to just go with the flow because you will want to have, you'll have a certain set mind of how you want things to be done. And I learned this especially with my son. I would always say there are certain things that I would do when I have a child. Like they're not going to do this and they're not going to do that and they're going to be a certain way. And every single one of those things that I said about my child and how I would be as a parent, none of those things happen. None of those things happen. And it kind of, it is a kind of parallel to a new business where, you would say, okay, so this is my business and I want this to happen and I want that to happen. And then it doesn't happen. And you have to figure out, well, okay, what is the next step? What am I going to do to still make things work and to get the desired results that I want? So it's a lot of using sometimes what I do in my business to help me uh, parent my child, and sometimes using what I learn with my child to um, work in my business.
So, do you think it's a good idea that maybe people who are preparing to be mother should prepare for motherhood, or what kind of preparation do you think people should do so that they can become better parent to their children? I think that you lay a lot of emphasis on being a good mother to your child. Tell me about that. What kind of preparation do you think people should make, and if it's even important to make preparation for that?
I think no matter how much you prepare, you're never truly prepared until you have your child, right? Because being a good parent, being a good mother, to me, it means that I need to adapt to his needs. It's not that I need to mold him into what I want him to be. It's about understanding him. He's his own person and he has his own personality, he has his own desires, his own thoughts. And it's not fair to him for me to try to change him into what I think he should be. You know, he's still learning, he's still developing, he's 5. And he was also diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder last year. And that also helped a lot in determining the type of parent that I needed to be. So I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak from my experiences. From my experience, what I can tell you is I had zero maternal instinct. I never uh I was very worried actually when I was pregnant because I wasn't really that fond of children as a concept of me being a parent. I couldn't see myself as a parent, you know? And all of the reasons why I couldn't see myself as a parent is all of the personality traits that my son has. So it's sort of, we I always say that God gives you exactly the child that you need to have. And I got exactly the child that I needed to get because all of my weak points, all of the things that I needed to work on, patience and compassion and giving grace, all of these things, I had to get a child that needed these things so that I can work on it, right? Because I need to be patient with him. I need to let him have his own space. I can't force him to do something that he doesn't want to do or that he isn't comfortable with. And I needed to learn that for myself. So I think as a new parent, you're not going to understand that so much until you actually have this child and they start growing and they start developing and then you start seeing what you need to do, excuse me, in order to be a good parent to them.
Thank you so much for that. You see, I have a son who is 6, going to 7 now. So I know the joy that I have in my mind, seeing my son growing up and being able to hang around. We move around. In fact, we are growing up together. If I want to put it like that. So, share with me as a parent, what is the joy that you feel inside of you, even as that is transforming you? Because your child is actually transforming you. Even it's not only your child that is growing, even you too, you are growing on. Because there is one thing I told my wife when we were getting married. I said, listen, I've never been married before. I don't even have experience of what it means to be married. So we are entering here with inexperience, but we are going to learn along the way. So to date, me and my wife, we are still learning. We are not perfect, but we are going on. So, what is the joy of being a mother to you? Share with me.
Well, I mean, just there's certain things that just seeing as he progresses, he's speaking a lot more. He only started speaking last year. And when I say speaking, I mean beyond like one or two words. Now he's actually speaking. He's negotiating with me and I love it because he's so cheeky, he's so mischievous and I love seeing and hearing the development and understanding how his brain just works. Sometimes, I just look at him and see what he's doing and I can just stare at him all day and look at what he's doing and how he's operating and he's so creative and uh he's developing at such a quick rate now that as he's formally diagnosed and he started his therapy and he's seeing so much changes with him in so many different aspects of not just education wise, but like personal development, uh, speech, his interaction with persons is just so amazing to look at because I look at him sometimes and I can't believe so much time has passed. I remember bringing him home just the other day and he's getting so big and sometimes I just want to hold him and just keep him young forever. But of course I can't. He has to grow up, you know? And that's just seeing him grow up and knowing that I have a part to play in his development. It's so rewarding, it's so gratifying.
That's lovely. That's lovely. Every parent will understand that.
Yes, yes, definitely.
All right. Now, let's go back to your work, to what you're doing today, because your business today is also so that you can take better care of your child. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. I actually work my business schedule around his schedule. That's why I love what I do because I'm able to have that flexibility where I can still cater to his needs and still be able to do what I need to get done.
Thank you. All right. Tell me, what does it even mean, task consulting? Can you tell me more about it for people who do not understand?
Right. Well, I do. Um, I have different levels to what I do. Right. Tax consulting, meaning that I walk you through your business and I explain to you what your legal and statutory requirements for taxes are. I can tell you when it needs to be done, how it needs to be done, what needs to be done, and walk you through that entire process. I also can prepare your documents for you. I can file your documents. I can go in and pay your documents on your behalf. Anything that requires any changes that need to be done, I keep abreast of the tax laws as they change and if there's any new things that need to be added. So it's really just a sort of um all round service when it comes to the tax consulting.
Thank you. And you also do bookkeeping. Both of them linked together. Yeah. Can you tell me more about that?
Bookkeeping is one of the foundations that you need when it comes to accounting for your business, right? If you don't have proper bookkeeping, that means that your financial statements are going to be inaccurate. If your financial statements are inaccurate, that means that your business planning is going to be inaccurate. Your strategies may be inaccurate. Whatever decisions, financial decisions you make, it's may be detrimental to your business because the bookkeeping was not done the way that it was supposed to be done. And when it comes to the taxes, if your financial statements are wrong, that means that it can affect the way that your taxes are prepared and the way that it's filed. And there are penalties and fees for uh, submitting incorrect information because if the bookkeeping is off, let's say you have an error and you understate certain things, that means that your taxes are going to be understated as well. And if there's an audit on your documents and an audit on your actual source documents, which would be the documents that you need to prepare the bookkeeping, to record the bookkeeping, then that creates problems because it can raise flags like fraud, like money laundering, things like that. So it's really, really important that you have that foundation with the bookkeeping to make sure that the bookkeeping is correct. Not just correct, but in line with accounting standards, international accounting standards, and as well as making sure that you follow the guidelines according to whatever tax laws are present in your country, in your jurisdiction, wherever the taxes are being paid for the business. You need to make sure that you follow those guidelines when you are filing and preparing your document.
Now, tell me a bit about the strategy that you need to apply for you to say, maybe for example, you are a new business now, and you need okay, I'm talking of maybe a business like your own, no, not the businesses that you work with, no. What do you need to do as a kind of a setup for you to be able to work for client?
Okay. Well, bookkeeping is pretty straightforward in terms of the way that you would record income, expenses, cash, all of these things, right? A basic bookkeeping course is actually going to help you be able to understand that. The technical stuff comes with actually understanding different businesses and different industries and being able to customize the way that you enter information and the way that you record um, certain aspects of that business because certain business owners they want specific things and they may want to see specific things in their business, right? With the taxes, it's really important that you maybe do any sort of taxation course that helps you understand the finer tune aspects of the tax laws of whatever country that you're dealing with. And then you need to always be keeping up with any changes because you need to be able to adapt changes to like there's personal allowance. Rates may change, tax rates may change, so on you need to be on the ball with it and make sure that you're keeping track of whatever is the updated laws so that you're using the correct rates, you're applying the right if there's any cap on income that you need to use, if there's any exemptions. Um, all of these things are important to keep track of and make sure that you are up to date on so that you're giving the person as an individual. I'll use myself as an example. There's no separation between myself as an individual, as Petal, and my business, my sole trader business, my organization, right? There's no separation. And what that means is if you were to have any sort of litigation or any sort of tax problem, it directly affects you personally as an individual, right? And for sole traders, especially in my country, Trinidad and Tobago, for sole traders, that is your only source of income. So you need to ensure that your financial statements are up to date and your bank records are up to date. There's a separation of your business funds and your personal funds, and that your taxes are filed, your taxes are paid. Because in the event that, let's say, you need a personal loan or a mortgage or a credit card for your personal uh, self, not for your business, but as an individual, these are the things that financial institutions are going to ask for because that is a source of funds. That is to ensure that what you are telling me in your bank account reflects what is actually happening in your business. So it's very, very important that you be tax compliant and financially compliant as an individual in your business.
Thank you for that. Okay, now let's speak again to the business. Now, you are helping business to understand the importance of taxes and maybe also how to be accurate in their taxes. Now, what are the documents they need to have or they need to present in order to make sure that their taxes are accurate and correct?
You need to ensure that you have source documents, right? Source documents are invoices, sales invoices, um, expenses, so any bills that you would have, any sort of if you have contracts with clients, or you have a contract with a vendor for anything, bank statements. You also need to make sure that you have a business account, a separate business bank account, because um, we don't want your personal funds and your business funds to be mixing, right? So these are all things that you need to have in place, and these are the documents that you're going to be using to now do your bookkeeping and financial statements, and then of course taxes.
All right. Now, how do you approach your bookkeeping? Because now you want to keep record for a company, you want to help them for their bookkeeping. What are your approaches? What do you really do with them in terms of the help?
Yep. Well, I I offer different things. Now, I can do your bookkeeping for you. Like if you have physical source documents, because some people actually have physical source documents, some people would digitally. So they would take all of their documents and they'll upload it onto a file and they'll give it to me. I digitally sort them, I digitally file them, and I would enter it in whether they have accounting software. If they use a spreadsheet, I would enter the information and I will analyze it from there. If you have physical documents, I can collect your physical documents, I analyze it, I sort it, I file the documents into a folder, I sort everything and I prepare everything for you. I return your source documents for you and I will have the record of the information. Then there's also persons who may want to enter the information for themselves. So they will enter the information and I will just review it and analyze it and make sure that everything is recorded properly.
What type of tools do you need to be able to keep accurate documentation for eventually tasks at the end of the day? I mean, what are the tools that are actually needed in this kind of job that you do?
I personally prefer Zoho accounting software because one, there's a free version of it, right? Because some persons may not necessarily be in a place where they can pay a monthly subscription for accounting software. And with Zoho, what I love about their free version is there's a lot of features that you don't normally get with a free version of an accounting software, and it really allows you to, and their chart of accounts, which is, I'm getting a little technical, but their chart of accounts, and the chart of accounts is actually the entire breakdown of all the different types of accounts in your business. They have a very comprehensive chart of accounts, so there's not a lot of additional accounts that you may have to create. You may have to, maybe one or two for very specific businesses, but they have a lot of different accounts on their chart of accounts, which makes it a lot easier for someone like me to go in and just set up an account for someone and customize their chart of accounts for them. So accounting software is very important. If they don't use accounting software, I usually may create a customized spreadsheet template specifically for whatever requirements they need for their information. But usually, for people who do that, and then there's some people who are old school and they just write everything down. Like there are templates of a cash book, an invoice book, things like that that they can just write the information down, and I use that to prepare their document.
How simple is it to understand these tools that we are using so that you can use them effectively? Because now I'm thinking that these tools might have different moving parts to them.
It is simple. It's simple for me because I the difficulty comes in properly analyzing expenses, because that's usually where persons may start to do a little bit of um, maybe not correct recording, right? Because you have to really understand what each type of expense is and how to record it properly. So you're making sure that you're putting it in the correct account, or when you enter something, making sure that it's not a negative figure, but it's a positive figure, because there's certain things that cannot be a negative figure. And that's where the technical information comes in, of understanding what type of account has to get what type of information. And I usually do bookkeeping consultations. I'm actually working on a bookkeeping course right now where I can teach you how to understand, be able to at least better identify and allocate to the correct account. Of course, I'm still going to review the information after to make sure that it's correct. I'll fix whatever needs to be fixed. But for the most part, it is pretty straightforward. The information is straightforward. The tools are straightforward. It's a matter of knowing. The differences I would see is mostly in terms of the type of expenses that you would have. To put that into perspective, for physical businesses, they may have expenses like rent, electricity, those type of expenses, right? Whereas with a digital business, or digital fully integrated online, you're not going to have those type of expenses because they may not need a physical space. What you would find is they would have more expenses on software, because now they would need to, have a website hosting, spyware software to make sure that their files are safe. Those type of expenses, subscriptions, because they may be using a lot more, as I said, software. They may be using a lot more applications, and that's usually where the difference comes in terms of the type of expenses. But whether it's a physical location or if it's an online business, in terms of the taxes, there are some credits that may be available for a physical business in terms of, let's say, repairs and maintenance type for buildings, um, certain allowances that they may get that an online business wouldn't get. But the online business might be able to get it in terms of marketing and advertising, some sort of thing. So it really depends on what type of business and what type of tax allowances and tax credits that they are actually eligible for.
All right. So at a personal level, What do you really love about your business? You're keeping taxes for people and doing bookkeeping. Share with that with me.
Yeah. So this is actually it's gonna sound really funny, but to me, the way how I see accounting and how I see bookkeeping is like a puzzle for me. And when I enter all of the information and everything comes together and I see everything being balanced, that to me is the final picture. That is the end product. And it gives me a really big I guess dopamine hit when I do that. Like it's so my clients and my colleagues, my friends, everybody laughs at me because I always tell them that accounting is my happy place. Right? Like if you give me a spreadsheet and you give me information to sort out, I'm gonna be so happy and they're gonna be like, but didn't you have things to do? And I'm just going to say, yes, yes, I know, but I need to sort this out first. Let me just sort it out, let me feel happy and then I can go back to what I'm doing. So that for me is really how I see it. It really does give me joy to I mean, yes, on a level, I want to make sure that my clients are tax compliant and they're financially compliant. That makes me really, really happy as well because I want businesses to understand how important it is to have these things in place. And that to me is a really personal thing that I embark on because I also do, I haven't done it recently, I haven't started it this year yet, but I also have a session on my Facebook page. I would do something called Financial Fridays to just give people financial tips and financial information just to help them understand these aspects of not just business, but how you can actually apply it to your personal life as well.
How do you find clients? Because now, of course, you are working for businesses. It means that you need to find this client. How do you do that? How do you approach it?
A lot of my clients actually come from referrals. And sometimes what happens is I will get a referral to do a cash flow projection so that they can open their bank account. And from that cash flow projection, we will do a tax consultation so that I explain to you about your taxes. And then from the taxes, they then move on to the bookkeeping because they're like, you know what? You do it for me. It's much easier for you to do it because you already know what you're doing. Let's just let you do it. And that usually sometimes the progression of how it goes. Or I might have someone that comes to me to do their taxes because a lot of times, again, because sole traders, because businesses don't understand how important it is to have these documents, they would now have, let's say I've had a client that needed to get a credit card, a personal credit card, and they didn't have their taxes filed and they had to get it done. Right? I had someone who wanted to get a loan, and because they didn't have their taxes done, they needed to get it done. And sometimes that actually leads to a client that comes to me regularly. I have some clients that come to me every year and be like, "Hey, it's tax time. I need to get my taxes done," and it happens like that. But a lot of it's from referrals.
Thank you so much for that. Now, talking of referral, talking of finding new clients, tell people how to find you.
So you can find me on Facebook. It's PD Admin Solutions. Right? It's actually a play on my initials. My initials are PSAB, and my business name is PBAS, right? So it's PB Admin Solutions on Facebook, on Instagram. You can find me as well. You can also WhatsApp me at 1-868-490-6488. And I can also be reached via email at pbsolutions dot va@gmail.com.
In three ways, or maybe in 3 points, could you explain to me what is effective bookkeeping in business?
Okay. One, always keep records. Always keep records of everything, right? Sales, invoices, expenses, everything. Always keep records. That's one. Two, separation of funds. Make sure that you separate your business funds from your personal funds. And three, have a really good tax consultant or accountant on board to make sure that you're being advised and you're getting the best advice and the best help possible.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that this conversation and the valuable information that you shared here. So, what would be your final thought here to conclude the conversation? Please go ahead and do that.
My final thought is um as a young mother, as a young entrepreneur, I would definitely encourage you to, if you're looking at entrepreneurship as a person, I always tell my clients that anything is sellable. Anything is sellable. You can turn any passion into something that is sellable, something that is applicable, because there will always be a market for something. You will always find, if it's just, you will always find a market for what you are trying to sell, right? It's all a matter of being able to take that hobby or take that skill that you have and figuring out how to sell it in a way that is going to be profitable for you and is going to add value to whoever is buying it from you, right? And motherhood for young mothers, for young women, motherhood is not the be all and end all. You can still have a business, you can still have a career, and still be able to um, take care of your children in the best way possible. If anyone wants to find out more about virtual assistants, you can always reach out to me, and I would love to sort of have a conversation with you about that so that you can, look at that as an option because it is a really good option to be able to work on your own terms and provide a service.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. That is really full of value.